Hi, I'm the Woodpecker. Today I'm going to show you how I made those 3 jigs for my new domino joiner. Last Christmas, I made several nice presents for my family, along with a super pretty one. But I didn't even get one little tool in exchange. I think the Grinch has settled in at my house. Shortly after, I bought a used domino joiner. As you might know, a domino is very useful and makes it easy to assemble a frame really fast. You just trace a line where you want to have a domino. You just have to align the airline cursor along your pencil line and plunge the domino joiner to make the mortise. Finally, you insert the domino into the 2 mortises, and with a little bit of glue, the join is done. There's an attachment for the styles, which help to align it all. For the rails, there's nothing as efficient. That's why I made a jig to help me. After securing it to my workbench, I'll give you a demonstration. I mark where the mortises will be made on the rail and style. I put a domino in one of the mortises to act as a stop. Using the style, I clamp the jig flush to the front of the workbench. Now I can align the airline to my pencil line and move the stop to the domino side. This way I can make all the style mortises at the same place. If the other side is already adjusted, I just have to push the style to the other stop and make the mortise. I also did the rail jig. To use it, I put the rail on either fence, tighten the stop, align the airline to my pencil line, move and tighten the side stop, and finally make the mortise. If the rail is too long for the backstop, I just use the toggle clamp to hold it. Until now, this jig hasn't done anything the domino's trim stop can't do. But where this jig shines, and the reason I made it, is for making 2 mortises at the end of a rail. I only need to mark the placement for the one closest to the end. I adjust the stop to that line and make the first mortise. Then, I add a spacer block and make the second one. I do the same thing with the style. When the 4 mortises are made, I just need to insert 2 dominoes and assemble the corner. Here's my double mortise joint. Finally, I made this jig to help me assemble horizontal panels with dominoes. Making a mortise with just a line is difficult, and if you try it without a guide, you're just asking for trouble. With my jig, I simply align the center of the domino on the jig's line. Then I put tape on the jig and mark where the dominoes go. Then I trace the line to the top of the jig. Now I have a line to align the center mark of the domino. I just need to put stops on the T-tracks like I did on the other jigs, so all the mortises will always line up. This jig is easy to build. I cut 2 plywood strips. After gluing them together and clamping them, I just wait until the next morning and recut the sides straight. I route a groove on both sides of it with a 3/4 straight bit. I screw 2 T-tracks into those grooves. Then cut the end flush with a cheap saw blade. To create the T-shape of the jig, I glue a piece of plywood at one end. I make sure it's straight and drive 2 headless pins to hold it. Then, I drill 4 chamfer holes and screw it together. I put some self-adhesive sandpaper on the back so it won't move when I'm using it. Now the jig is ready to go. Next, I'll show you how I made the style jig. I start by cutting some 1/2 inch Baltic birch plywood, 8 inches wide. I make a groove to accept the T-track on the router table. The thickness of the base prevents me from using screws on the T-track, so I just glue it with epoxy. I spread epoxy on the groove and on the T-track. I glue everything together, put some clamps on, and let the glue dry overnight. The next morning, I made a series of equally spaced mortises on the front of the jig. Then I make stops in different sizes for all my jigs. I make 2 8mm Domino mortises at each end of the stops. And cut them to the right width. I drill a hole in the center, aligned with the mortises. At each end of the jig, I make a slot the width of 2 of my workbench dug holes. I do them by plunging a domino joiner through the plywood at different spots. After, I need to file the interior of the slots. Now I need to stop the jig from moving on the workbench. So I drill a 1/4 inch hole in the center of a small 3/4 dowel and cut it at approximately 45 degrees. I just need to put a bolt in the hole, and with that, I can fix the jig tightly to the workbench. Now this jig is ready for some action. The last jig I did is this one, the rail jig. After finding a piece of plywood big enough, I make a series of grooves for some T-tracks on the base and the fences. As usual, I messed up the depth of the grooves, so I have to make them deeper using a router plane. I temporarily screw a T-track on the bottom groove. This will help me later on with the fences glue up. I spread glue on the side fences and push them on the stop that I temporarily installed on the bottom's T-track. Then I screw the T-track through both pieces of plywood. I cut the T-track using my cheap blade on the table saw again. Okay, this would have looked better if I just cut this on the other side. That way, the plywood would have been supported. Now I can screw the right T-track onto the bottom groove. This one extends 5 inches on both sides of the jig to accommodate the stops. Then I screw out the rest of my T-tracks in the grooves, which stop the rail from going further back. After all that, the points of the screws are sticking out the back of the jig. So I file them flush to the base. To hold the jig to my workbench, I drill 2 holes, the width of 2 of my workbench holes, and make another 2 dowel wedges. Then I make the toggle clamp sled. Just at the end, I noticed that I made it with the wood grain in the wrong direction. Okay, I'll make another one, but the right way this time. After that, the rail jig is finished. Here are the 3 new jigs I made to help me make mortises with my Domino joiner. I hope to see you next time on the Woodpecker, when I can put these jigs to good use.